Hey, what's up guys? UrAvgWarGamer is back with another video of World of Warships. And today, I'm going to be taking a look at top 5 most powerful battleships that you can buy for yourself right now, and they are actually available for free, so you have to spend credits on them and you can get them because they are really worth it and very powerful at the same time. So definitely keep watching the video because I will be explaining the strengths and weaknesses and why they are really strong for the current meta in World of Warships and why you should play them specifically for their strengths, and they are actually very powerful, in fact taking on all the other battleships, and it really makes them worth it if you have them. So let's talk about our first pick, which is going to be the St. Vincent, the British tech-free, I would say, battle cruiser at tier 10. Now I would rate St. Vincent to be pretty strong at number 5. And especially if I compare it with the Conqueror, which is kind of its counterpart at tier 10 British battleship, well, I would say St. Vincent feels a lot much more comfortable in many ways and also feels a lot better in the gun department, which I will show you. So why St. Vincent is pretty strong? Well, first of all, the guns compared to Conqueror are significantly better, even though there are only 9 guns compared to Conqueror's 12, but these are 457mm guns, which means that you can actually able to overmatch 30mm cruiser plating or any ship that has 30mm plating, and it will just absolutely going to smash them regardless of their angling, which makes these guns really powerful. Also, it has 1.6 Sigma, the battle cruiser dispersion, and really the HE and the AP capabilities of St. Vincent are extremely good. Now, it's not like the overpowered, or I would say very strong Thunderer levels of HE Alpha. I mean, it has 7100 HE Alpha compared to Thunderers like 8200 HE Alpha. But still, the St. Vincent have 63% fire chance like Thunderer, so it's definitely going to set insane amount of fires. The ability to burn down battleships is still going to be obnoxious for this battleship. Also, you have the guns that have pretty much decent accuracy considering you have battlecruiser dispersion. 1.6 Sigma might not be really good compared to Thunder, but I still felt the guns are pretty relevantly accurate. And also the HE shells are pretty good. 7.1K alpha with this fire chance is definitely very powerful. The AP also is short fuse, so if you are able to load AP against broadside Minotaurs or any small lens, well, they're going to get Citadel because this short fuse helps a lot in breaking, or I would say citadeling them, even though they are full flat broadside with having very minimalistic armor, and short fuse does help to get the arming of the AP to detonate in them, and it will give you a lot of damage. The alpha damage is pretty good, as you can see here, 14,900. The concealment is pretty insane, 13.1, and you also have access to, just like Conqueror or Thunder, no, not the Thunder, Thunder has normal heal, but this has access to specialized repair teams like you find on Conqueror, but instead it can only heal back 60% of penetration damage. Not 75% on Conqueror, but that 60% penetration damage is still gonna be good enough, and it really makes the St. Vincent really powerful. The only thing that they have able to nerf the St. Vincent, and I think that's what really makes St. Vincent a lot much more tankier, is the ability to heal quickly. Now it has a cooldown of 100 seconds compared to 80 seconds, and that's where St. Vincent needs to disengage, where the concealment can do that, but if you are spotted by destroyer, then it's going to be a problem. You do have the engine boost, you have improved, I would say, acceleration. I mean, you can accelerate pretty relatively quickly compared to the normal battleships. You also have defensive AA fire, unlike Conqueror, and that really helps a lot against carriers out there that are trying to do some damage onto you. So the AA defense, and obviously with the rating it has and the defensive AA fire that it gets, does help a lot against carriers. And also you have a weird torpedo on the bow, 2 of them, which you can actually shoot if you are like this. If you are bowing in like this and you shoot the torpedoes, they will go like here and they will go like here. And the damage of the torpedo is so hilarious that you can get almost 20 to 25k, or maybe at least more than 20k damage if just able to land a single torpedo on that poor battleship that is pushing you. Does help a lot if you are in close brawling situation. The firing angles are pretty good. The gun range is decent at 20.5, although it could be a lot better, but this is a battle cruiser, so they have given some sort of a limited range. But I would say the armor is also kinda better, like 40mm deck armor. The bow might not be the best, But again, you have the ability to super heal. If you're able to disengage, you will be very, very tanky and extremely powerful at number 5. I have no doubt about that. The maneuverability, the speed that you can get up to like 38, 39 knots. No, not 38, but at least you can get up to 37 knots. Something like that really makes St. Vincent pretty powerful, and especially if you have, the captain skill with a brisk, you can increase the speed quite a lot, which makes it really powerful battleship at number 5. At number 4, we have this Japanese battleship at tier 10. It's a Tech 3 battleship, and it's actually one of the best accurate, I would say, sniper-esque battleship in the game, just like Yamato, but in a different way, and that is Bungo. Now, Bungo, in my opinion, has amazing guns. They are so powerful, especially with the AP and the HE both. Just like in the case of St. Vincent, the ammunition of AP and HE are pretty impressive. And let me explain the reason why the Bungo is pretty powerful. Again, we have 10 instead of 9 457mm guns. They have better HE alpha compared to St. Vincent, 7100 versus 7300. And then you also have a fire chance which is not impressive compared to that, but again, the accuracy that you have, the sigma value that you get on the Bungo is 2.2 compared to the St. Vincent 1.6, but obviously it does not have access to, I would say battlecruiser dispersion. It has standard battleship dispersion with 2.2 sigma, but then they have decided to give Bungo a specific special high precision spotter plane. Now this spotter plane actually able to make the dispersion such that it can get around, or I would say close to the battlecruiser dispersion with 2.2 sigma for at least 65 seconds, because the action time is 65 seconds and you have 5 consumables, and their cooldown is also pretty much good, under I would say 2 minutes. So you can able to launch the spotter plane and you will have battlecruiser dispersion almost with 2.2 sigma coming onto the broadside of a cruiser, and you can imagine with this overmatch capabilities and the penetration that is relatively okay, means that you are going to get one of the most disgusting salvos from Bungo at tier 10. I'm not joking. The guns are so accurate once you use the spotter plane that it becomes the only skill issue if you just miss the target. The shells, the dispersion, the penetration, penetration is not something that I would say really, really impressive, but considering the guns still have overmatch, cruisers are really going to be hating you if you're able to shoot them. And also the fact that it has cruisers level of detection at sea. I haven't built for detection. You can get it up to like 12.2, 12.3 kilometer detection, just like on the Conqueror. It really makes it absurd. I would say slightly better than Conqueror. I would say it's like having 12.1 kilometer concealment, which is really impressive for a battleship. You can actually able to outspot some of the heavy cruisers, but you are in a battleship at tier 10. Your maneuverability, not the best, I would say. Compared to Yamato, it might be a bit better, but again, the maneuverability is not good. The only reason that I would put the Bungo at number 4 is not because of the guns. The guns are actually making it at number 1 or number 2, to be honest. They are so accurate. It's the armor layout. The moment you talk about the Bungo's armor, it definitely felt a lot much more like a battlecruiser. But again, compared to St. Vincent, Bungo has really good guns. I would say better guns, but the armor department is where Bungo definitely lacks a lot. Even though I would still rate it a bit better compared to St. Vincent because of the guns and guns only, the accuracy. But the armor department is definitely onto the weaker side. As you can see here, Bungo has 25mm bow armor. And also 25mm, so you can actually overmatch the bow with 380mm guns, if I'm not wrong. And then you also have this 32mm deck armor, which clearly shows that it is kind of a battle cruiser, but not even having a lot tankier armor that you can expect from a battleship. And that's why Bungo definitely suffers a lot with the HE spam. So definitely, it felt quite a bit short. Your HP is also not the best. Your anti-defense is also not the best. In fact, it's really bad. The Bungo does not have anything going for it against, carriers, except that you have to swap to fighter planes, which you will never ever do. Because the high precision spotter plane, it gives so insane dispersion that you will never ever gonna be speccing Bungo with fighter. And then you are kinda remain and left alone with only these A defense rating of 81, which is just almost as bad as against tier 8 carriers. Like you're going to be actually going to suffer against tier 8 carriers, let alone tier 10. So you can imagine the problems that you have with the Bungo entire defense. So that's the reason why the Bungo is not special, at least in any other department, except for the guns. The guns are just absolutely crazy powerful. But other than that, I would say Bungo is definitely going to be around average in terms of its armor profile. The Citadel is also a bit weaker. You can actually able to get Citadel if you didn't angle enough, and that's why I would rate it at number 4. Again, that's my personal opinion. I believe that the Bungo is slightly bit better and interesting in terms of the gun department compared to the, I would say, St. Vincent, and hence the reason why it's at number 4. Now, if the Bungo is only and only very good, extremely good with the gun department, well, Vermont at number 3 also is extremely good, not only in the gun department, but also in the armor and I would say survivability, except for the speed. At number 3, I would say this American tech-free battleship Vermont is definitely kind of a lot better compared to what Bungo gives in terms of its average stats. And in the terms of armor department and the entire defense, it's not that good, right? But the Vermont definitely is quite a lot better. In fact, its survivability is so good that they have given it the Citadel damage healing of 50%. Even though you might argue that it has really bad Citadel, you have pretty vulnerable Citadel, I would say, if you're able to shoot at the Vermont broadside, especially below the turrets. I felt Vermont to be not that good, at least compared to Bungo. Bungo sometimes feel a bit better, but again, the bow armor and you have this 51mm armor plating means that if you are angled good enough, then your survivability is many times better compared to Bungo, okay? And also, they have somehow managed to give it repair party, which you're having a faster cooldown time of 40 seconds that you usually find on Ohio, Georgia, Massachusetts, those premium ships. Well, Vermont also does have this similar ability. Also, the survivability is quite a bit higher compared to Bungos and St. Vincent, and your torpedo protection is also 40%, which is really good. Your tanky torpedo protection means that you can actually able to, tank some torpedoes even though your speed is not good. But I haven't even talked about the guns. The guns of the Vermont are very, very powerful. They have managed to give 1.9 sigma with even though a battleship dispersion, but you have access to the 6 slot, which gives the main battery shell dispersion by 11%. This is only possible on American battleships, and that's why Burgoyne, with this 1.9 sigma and this dispersion buff, makes it quite a lot consistent, just like Bungo. But also, it has insane alpha. You have 15.7k alpha on these guns compared to the Bungo's only 13.5. That's a huge alpha buff that Vermont has over Bungo, and even over the St. Vincent. And that's the reason why I felt a lot much more better when I able to get the guns onto a broadside target. Now, you have 12 guns, which again are more guns than St. Vincent and Bungo. Your accuracy with the sigma, as well as your dispersion and your alpha, really makes Vermont shine. Only the problem with the Vermont is that it has really terrible reload time of 40 seconds. But again, the Vermont is all about the alpha, and I felt the consistency is very, very much on par, just like Bungo, but definitely having slightly more reload time. But again, with some battleships that they have given the leg mods to, well, you can have a legendary mod on Vermont which can improve the reload time by 10% while still having that dispersion that you want on Vermont. I mean, you just have to really give up on the concealment. But the problem is, even though it's having really bad speed at 24.2 knots, you can increase it up to like 26 something with brisk skill. But the problem is that if you somehow manage to give Vermont worse concealment, which I have right now, it does not have a captain skill which improves the concealment. It has 12.6 or 12.7 kilometer concealment with full built on upon the concealment, means that you can outspot many heavy cruisers, right? And since you do have such an absurd 457 30mm overmatching guns with insanely good penetration and alpha, well, you cannot give a surprise factor against cruisers once you have, I would say, Montana levels of concealment. Montana has 14-ish kilometers of concealment, so Vermont definitely is better in that concealment department. But once you start to give some better anti-air, which actually is really impressive on that, because you also have, just like St. Vincent, defensive air fire. And as much as I play carriers and I find poor Bungo struggling, I find Vermont and St. Vincent to be a lot much more resilient if you have defensive air fire, especially if there is like average or below average CB players. That's where defensive air fire is almost going to be giving you a lot much more plane shutting down, and also giving you a lot more survivability against carriers. It's just something that I just cannot miss. And then again, you have a spotting aircraft, which does help a lot. Increasing the range. I mean, you can increase its range up to 28.4 kilometers. I mean, that's totally up to you. You have the artillery plotting room on one, so you can always go for third traverse. I mean, this is probably the better idea to pick this. But again, that's probably my upgrade, setup. So definitely, it's something that you should know. So overall, I would say with the anti defense, with the concealment, if you fully built for it, it just makes Vermont extremely powerful in surprising. And also with this alpha means that you can chunk like 40 to 50k volleys on a single target. You can depth strike cruisers, just like Bungo, but again with your survivability that good, and the potential healing, faster healing that you can do is just Vermont is a really good package. I mean, this is one of the battleships that you should try to play, and you will love the guns. You also love the survivability, unless you won't be able to disengage, and that's where it will struggle with the speed. Otherwise, it's an amazing ship in division and definitely worth it at number 3. If someone would have told me that he or she would rate Colombo at number 2 in maybe 2023 or 2022, whenever it got released, I would never believe it until now. And the buffs that they have given, the recent buffs that they have given to Colombo, it just simply makes it so much powerful and so much amazing to play. I mean, if you haven't played Colombo, you should try it out first, because the recent buffs like 1.5 to 1. Sigma, the improved gun firing angles that they have given when you are shooting on front, not the kiting, but at least when you are having all the 16 guns, which again, it's a very special factor that Colombo has, that you have 380mm guns, 16 of them, and then obviously since it's an Italian battleship that we are talking about, it has SAP. Okay? So this might be an interesting factor, and that's what not really makes it to number 2, but then you add this recently released leg mod, improved rangefinder, and this is what really straight up upgraded the Colombo to the next level. I have never would thought to the Colombo being really strong, even after the buffs, but once you are putting in this legendary mod, which improves the main battery shell dispersion, apart from the upgrade slot at number 3, which also improves the shell dispersion, you're getting a maximum shell dispersion of minus, I would say, 13%, which is actually better than American battleships, right? At number 6, they usually do. So with this dispersion buff, with 1.6 Sigma, with the 16 guns, and the SAP that you cannot really able to angle and mitigate a whole lot, except you just speed juke them, Colombo will just chunk you for more than 20k every single volley, every 35 seconds. This is not a joke. If the SAP is coming towards you, consider yourself taking a lot of damage. Unless he just overshot you or just missed you, the Colombo damage output is gonna be pretty disgusting. There's no other way of saying this. And also, I would kind of rate Colombo better than Lauria, which is a steel Italian battleship that they also have released. I would say it's a battle cruiser. The reason why? Well, first of all, the significant accuracy buff with 1.6 Sigma and the dispersion that you can get with this improved upgrade means that it kind of throws Lauria out of the water, since you have the ability to use the exhaust smoke generator. A smoke on a battleship is a big factor. Your ability to have a get out of jail free card at will every 180 seconds, even though, is just something that I absolutely love about the Colombo compared to Lauria. Okay, and then you have the spotter plane. Even though your range might not be that impressive, or I would say it's very similar to Lauria. Lauria also have like 18.9 kilometer, but still you have the spotting aircraft, and then you also have this smoke to disengage, and then you have really good armor, and then you have these 16 guns. Means you're gonna be literally obliterating cruisers pretty hard. And I haven't even talked about the Luigi Cincinnati, that how much it's gonna make this Colombo powerful. I mean, if you have the, Cincinnati, you will have a main battery shell type switching time minus 60% compared to minus 40 that you are seeing right now. And then it also have sort of built in the gun feeder skill. Like, you can have way better minimum shell type switching time to around like 10 or 8 seconds once you are using the Luigi Cincinnati. So you can always switch to SAP and AP within 10 seconds, which is crazy. So if someone broadsides you, you can always switch to AP because the AP is good, the shell velocity is impressive. I would say it's really good. The HP, the armor pool, is also pretty decent at 94,000. I mean, I have got this flag and that's why you are seeing it inflated, but the base HP is still 90,000 regardless. Your torpedo protection is good. Your anti-defense is actually really poor because of short firing range, but again, you have the smokes. The same thing with the Loria. I cannot do much, but I can do something in the smoke with Colombo. Really makes it a lot better, especially against the aircraft carriers. You have the get out of jail free card, as I said, and then you have 5 heals. Your armor is pretty good, and you can always disengage at will. Your concealment can go up to 14 kilometers if you really build for it. It's just a really strong battleship right now, guys. You just try to play this ship with this insane 16 guns and relatively accurate right now. You will just gonna take so much damage. A good Colombo player will actually able to really make a game impact, if not for the terrible destroyers. It's just simple as that, and that's why it's at number 2. It's one of the best sniping battleship. I would kind of rate it better than even sometimes Vermont and Bungo in the gun department. If the gun's really gonna hurt, they will really gonna hurt. Honestly, they are so good. The SAP is kind of a most unbalanced sort of ammo once you started to get a lot much more accuracy, and this, I would say, a buff really makes it at number 2. There's no other way of saying it, but you should buy it. If you have a chance, try to use these guns and you will be impressed with this specially legendary mod, and you will definitely going to thank me later that I have recommended you this guy or this battleship at number 2. And finally at number 1, I think I would say gotten so much complaints for a single battleship than Libertad. There's no battleship in the game that I have heard about needs to get nerfed other than this Pan-American battleship Libertad. This ship is like the opposite of how much powerful that you can be in a brawling fighting range, right? This is actually the opposite of sniping capabilities. Like, if you have the best sniping capabilities from a battleship, for example, you might take an example of Satsuma with the F key, that how much it will obliterate a target with the use of F key and its accuracy. Well, Libertad with its secondaries will just gonna be melting down like as if it's a fucking Smolensk strapped on each side with the secondaries. And then you are also a cruiser and having the maneuverability better than most, I would say all the battleships in the current, meta or state. It just makes Libertad insane. Let's talk about it. Like, why the reasons that I would rate Libertad to be pretty absurd. I mean, I will not talk about the F key. F key is something that I will just gonna talk about it later. But let's talk about the guns. You have the guns, the penetration like Montana, not the alpha damage, because it's actually, kind of balanced with 11.7k compared to the Montana's 13.5. They have balanced it with 1.7 sigma. And then you have these 12 guns that have still very, decent, I would say accuracy, pretty decent, 1.7 sigma. With the Montana penetration, the shell velocity is something that I just don't understand. The guns are still very, very good, considering it has absurd, I would say broken secondaries right now in the current state that the Libertad is in. Okay? I will talk about the secondaries. This thing is just filthy if I talk about it. But the guns, 12 guns, very good. The HE is pretty decent, 6.1k alpha. It's not that bad. It's actually better than Montana's 5.7k. The fire chance is pretty good. I mean, you can also switch to HE if someone starts to angle, and Libertad will set fires. And once you are into the secondary range, the secondary batteries will set obscene amount of fires. There's just no way that I can see to be balanced. The secondaries are of that of Goliath, which is a heavy cruiser, the British heavy cruiser at tier 10. Let me show you the Goliath real quick so that I can just compare the numbers. Now these are 234 millimeter guns. They have 59 millimeter penetration. This is, I think, one of the absurd secondaries with improved pen, and it actually gets this sort of pen if I compare it just like the Goliath guns, okay? The Goliath main battery guns, which kind of have the slightly better fire chance at 24% with exactly same qualities in terms of alpha damage, and the armor HE penetration capacity, it's basically the same as those that you find on the Libertad. Your secondaries are actually Goliath. The main battery of Goliath are actually strapped onto the Libertad secondaries. Are you kidding me? And they have also improved men and also have not the sort of very hard nerfed fire chance at 21%. The difference is only 3%. And funny enough, if you use these fire flags, you can get it up to like 23%. And then if you use the fire skill from the captain, you're getting literally the Goliath guns strapped onto the each side. You have better secondary battery reload time than Goliath itself. And I haven't even talked about these small secondaries that can just do so much damage as well along the way. Because why not? Why the hell not, right? These secondaries, look at that. 9.4 seconds of reload time, and you have 10 on each side. And considering that they also have improved dispersion, just like maybe on the Schlieffen, like it's like having improved accuracy means they're going to be pretty disgusting. The penetration is going to be all over the place. You will actually be able to pen all the battleships, all the cruisers' deck armor, most of the deck armor, except maybe of the Kremlin and also maybe the side armors that you typically get on like Russian or German or maybe the Italians. Other than that, these secondaries will just literally pen. The fire chance, this had so much fires that it's absurd. The armor, I haven't even talked about the armor. I haven't even talked about the speed, the gimmicks that it gets. It has armor 51 millimeter, so it's kind of like really good, really resistant against HE. Your superstructure is not that big or thick compared to at least for Germans, I would say. Your armor is pretty insane. As you can see here, the side armor is 51 millimeter, so who the fuck is gonna overmatch you? And then you have 32 millimeter armor, which means that you're still not gonna be overmatched by less than 460 millimeter guns. So you're not gonna be Citadel, even though its armor is definitely a bit on the weaker side. You do have this very vulnerable Citadel armor. If someone knows that you have really bad armor, if the Yamato knows that he can just obliterate you from the bow, sure, he can do that, and that's the weakness of the Libertad. But other than that, it's also a bit of a struggle to just able to get the Citadel onto the Libertad. I find it quite a lot struggling to even able to Citadel unless you are at close ranges, okay? So Libertad armor is definitely that good, that really, really strong. The HE is good, the AP is good, just like I said. Your anti-defense is something that I will, explain later. But let's talk about the, something that I felt is also more insane than ever. You have somehow managed to get the acceleration better than Vermont. And you know what's Vermont acceleration base is? 15 seconds. Libertad has, I think, less than 15 seconds. You accelerate like a dime. You accelerate better than most of the things in the game. Your acceleration is insane. You're easily able to dodge the torpedoes if they are coming along the way. So you just quickly able to pick the speed and you are like a fucking Ferrari for free at tier 10. So you just can buy this ship and you just have a Ferrari, at least in this game, if not in the real life. It's so good. It's so insane. You have the ability, again, you don't have like less heals. For example, I think the Schlieffen does suffer from maybe one less heal. I don't exactly remember, but at least one thing that Libertad also has is these improved healing capabilities. The penetration that it can heal is also 65%, right? So it is also better. So even if you get Citadel in the Libertad, for example. So, for example, let's just say you just get Citadel in Libertad, right? But then the remaining HP, once you start to lose a bit more like that, your penetration damage will still able to compensate for the Citadel damage that you have taken. So what really that means is that 65% healing potential does compensate a lot. And you can still able to heal significant HP even though you have taken some citadel damage. And that's the reason why they have given a 65%, healing of the penetration damage, which is almost as good as Conqueror's 75%. And you're getting it on Libertad with these absurd secondaries. And I haven't even talked about that disgusting captain, which not only increases the speed, because it has improved brisk. Like this brisk is improved with 12.5%. So if you use it, you can get it up to like 35 knots. I mean, you can already get it to 33.5 knots with the brisk, right? But then once you use that improved brisk on that unique captain, you can get it up to 35 knots. And then if you get 2 times the F key running, you can get the extra speed of 5%. I mean, go figure it out. I haven't even talked about the F key, and there goes so many gimmicks that it gets. The secondaries are so much insane. The moment they started to shoot you, they started to set so much fires and so much penetration that you will literally going to die extremely quickly. I mean, it's almost like a fucking Smolensk in a battleship hull. Once the secondaries are fully having 50% minus dispersion. Okay, so it's not a joke, right? And then I haven't even talked about the F key. Your modified secondary munitions, whatever they call it, not only they're also able to increase the secondary range, so that if someone gets out of 12.5 kilometers, you can increase the secondary range by 20%, which you can get it up to like 15 kilometers. Not only the range is going to be improved, the secondary reload time is going to be improved, the damage is going to be improved, so you're going to be having better secondary alpha damage than Goliath? Are you fucking kidding me? For 30 seconds? And you can easily able to just get this activation by just tanking 1000 HP or potential damage like 0.15%, and the penetration with the guns. If you're able to land shells, you just quickly get the F key, and then you will just F everything that comes along the way. Unless you are taking a lot of damage, well, it's still going to be able to survive that, because somehow they also love the Libertad to have better cooldown time at 60 seconds. I don't have any words, guys. You have 5 heals, your cooldown time is 60 seconds, and if you use this improved repair party readiness, you can get an extra heal. You can get it up to 6 heals as well. Your concealment is 13 kilometers. I haven't even talked about 13.1 kilometers, so it's also as good as St.Vincent. And your secondary is, as I said, 12.5 kilometers, and you can use the F key to F everything. This ship is an abomination. This is literally like if you push in, you just click onto the guy with the secondaries, and you will just literally burn him down or murder them with the secondaries and even with the guns. And you can just try it out. Libertad is the most absurd battleship that they have given. I mean, sure, it does not have hydro, but Wargaming decided to give it the insane acceleration. Go figure it out. So, with this ship, having so many gimmicks and so many utilities in a very hidden way, and the captain that you can get, obviously, which also improves the secondaries as well. I haven't even talked about that. There's so many things that I might be missing. I would still just gonna recommend you to take the Libertad and just figure it out yourself, and you will just find out the damage. The moment you get into the secondary firing range, the damage will just come so quickly that it's not even funny. And it's definitely, currently right now, unless they nerf it, the most broken secondary battleship that they have ever released at number 1. I love the Libertad. At least the secondary point of view, this battleship is amazing. It's not like the sniping factor. It's about the brawling factor at least. So that's where they have decided to unbalance it and make it so fucking powerful. Just go and figure it out, and you will find out how powerful that ship is. Till then, I will catch you guys in the comments, and just let me know what do you think about these battleships, and if you have any other suggestions, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your suggestions. Till then, I will catch you guys into the next one. Peace out.